If you go to reformparty.uk, you will now see a live tracker for our membership number. You saw it was 100,000 members a couple of weeks ago. As of 5 o'clock Sunday, we'll track daily what our membership numbers are. You'll see in live time as they go up. The Conservative Party sent out 131,000 ballot papers for their recent leadership election. I reckon we're going to go through that pretty soon.
Tories totally outplayed by Reform UK in new poll. Reform UK is rapidly closing the gap, leaving the Conservatives scrambling to retain relevance. With membership numbers surging and a live tracker fueling grassroots excitement, Reform UK is proving to be a force to reckon with. The Tories, once the stalwarts of British conservatism, are now looking over their shoulders as Nigel Farage and his team ride a wave of public discontent. This isn't just politics as usual. It's a seismic shift that could redefine the right-wing landscape in the UK. The message is clear. The Conservatives are on notice, and Reform UK isn't here to play second fiddle. Britain, it seems, really does need reform. Nigel Farage is once again proving why he's a master of shaking up the political status quo. With his leadership giving Reform UK both credibility and visibility, he's leveraging his well-earned reputation as a disruptor to full effect. By setting 131,680, the Conservative Party's membership count, as a bold target, Farage is sending a clear message. Reform UK isn't just a protest movement, it's a growing political force ready to challenge the establishment. The live membership tracker is a stroke of modern political genius. It's not just a numbers game, it's a tool to energize supporters, foster a sense of community, and create a race, like excitement that motivates members to bring others on board. This is grassroots politics in the digital age, and it's leaving the Conservatives looking outdated and outmaneuvered. For Reform UK, hitting or surpassing that symbolic number would be a watershed moment, signaling their rise as a major player on the right. But the real test lies ahead, turning this momentum into actual votes. Without a solid policy platform and a well-oiled campaign machine, even the most impressive membership surge risks fizzling out at the ballot box. Meanwhile, the Conservatives face a mounting crisis. Reform UK's rise is tapping into a growing sense of discontent and disillusionment, drawing voters and members away. The Tories can no longer afford to ignore the pressure to address internal divisions and reconnect with their base. If they fail to respond decisively, they risk becoming the party of yesterday, eclipsed by Reform UK's forward momentum. This isn't just a challenge. It's a full-blown wake-up call for the British political landscape. Now, watch Martin Baxter, CEO of Electoral Calculus, explains how Nigel Farage could become Prime Minister.
Bumbling along in a very similar area.
That's right, Tom. So yes, normally we have a two-party system. There's two main big parties in Britain. But at the moment, the Conservative and Labour are both on 26% on average on our poll of polls. But Reform are not far behind on 22%. So as you say, three parties, all between 20 and 30% support. And that, of course, is a big change from the last general election, where Labour on 35%, 20% ahead of Reform on 15%. So Reform have gained a lot of votes in the last 6 months, mostly from Labour.
So this is the interesting picture of the last 6 months. Since the election, Labour has fallen down considerably, but the Tories haven't really risen. They've stayed...
Gained a point or two.
Gained a point or two. And Reform has gone up precipitously.
Reform has gained 7%, yes, which is added kind of an extra one support for every two existing.
You've brought along this graph, which might look a bit bamboozling to people watching. What is this showing? This is the light blue line is Reform vote share turning into seats.
Yes, so this is, yes, I think the last Sunday before Christmas needs a graph. So we've got, what the graph here is showing is the number of seats that Reform will win under our predictions against the vote share they get. So depending how many people support them, the more support they get, the more seats they get. But the interesting thing is that at the moment they're on 15% support and just 5 seats. If they can get up to 25% support in the polls, they get about 100 seats.
And some polls have them on 25%.
One poll, yes, but as I say, average poll is still 22, but 25 isn't far away.
So they could, I mean, if there were an election, you know, magically tomorrow, there's a world where Reform could win 100 seats.
Yeah, more likely 40 or so. But the really interesting thing for the year ahead is if they do a bit better than 25. If they can push through that, they might or they might not. But if they can get through, if they get up to 28%, so only slightly more than that, then they're actually the largest party in the House of Commons.
Wow.
And Nigel Farage might be the Prime Minister with Conservative support.
If they get up to 2080, they're the largest party. Could Nigel Farage really be on the brink of reshaping British politics? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Reform UK being just 6 away from becoming the largest party is nothing short of a seismic political moment. It's not just a number. It's a warning shot across the bow of the Conservative and Labour parties. The growing support signals a deep disillusionment with the traditional political establishment. Voters are tired of recycled promises and are rallying behind Farage's bold messaging, which speaks directly to those who feel ignored by the current system. At the heart of this surge is Nigel Farage himself. Love him or loathe him, his knack for leading insurgent campaigns. Think Brexit is unparalleled. His ability to mobilize disaffected voters and convert frustration into action gives Reform UK a serious edge. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Polling strength is one thing, winning in a general election is another. Reform UK faces the daunting task of translating national momentum into victories at the constituency level. With the UK's first past the post system, this means focusing on targeted areas, finding strong candidates and presenting a clear, compelling policy platform. The stakes are high not just for Reform UK, but for the entire political landscape. Their rise heaps pressure on the Conservatives and Labour to address the growing wave of dissatisfaction. If they fail to adapt, the consequences could be monumental. A fracture of the Conservative vote, new battlegrounds in key areas, and a shake-up that could leave Westminster unrecognizable. And if Reform hits that magic 2080, they might become the largest party, but governing would still come with challenges. Coalition politics could force compromises, testing whether Reform's vision can hold up under the realities of power. So, could Nigel Farage really become Prime Minister? One thing's for sure, Reform UK is making waves, and the old guard can no longer afford to ignore the storm brewing on the horizon. Britain, it seems, is ready for something new. What do you think? Is this the revolution we've been waiting for, or just another political gamble? Drop your thoughts below. Nigel Farage drops a political bombshell. 1,000 young members in just 48 hours. This explosive growth rate is a massive win for Reform UK, particularly as they challenge the entrenched political order. It's a clear signal that their message is striking a chord with younger voters, a demographic traditionally seen as out of reach for right-leaning movements. The Savvy Peston membership offer for under 25s is a masterstroke, breaking down financial barriers and creating a sense of inclusivity. Farage is positioning Reform UK not just as a political party, but as a welcoming dynamic movement for the next generation. The potential here is enormous. Youth engagement isn't just about numbers. It's about securing the future of a political movement. Reform UK is shattering the narrative that young people naturally align with progressive ideologies. This wave of new recruits represents a potential ideological shift, one that could sustain Reform UK's momentum for years to come. The rapid influx of young members also generates a media buzz, creating a snowball effect that could bring even more to their cause. But here's the challenge. Signing up young members is just the beginning. The real test lies in turning them into active supporters and voters. Reform UK must offer more than a membership card. They need to engage these young people with meaningful policies, grassroots involvement, and opportunities to make their voices heard. And let's not forget the balancing act. Appealing to younger voters without alienating their older loyal base. Education, employment, housing. These are the battlegrounds where Reform UK must deliver if they want to solidify this newfound youth support. Farage has lit the spark, but keeping the flame alive will require sustained effort, smart strategy, and a willingness to adapt. Reform UK's youth surge is a potential game changer in British politics. The question now is whether they can harness this energy to drive real change, or if it will fizzle out as just another fleeting headline. What's your take? Are we witnessing the rise of a new political powerhouse? Drop your thoughts below. Nigel Farage has pulled a masterstroke, drawing professionals from cutting-edge fields like healthcare, border control, and infrastructure to reform UK's ranks. The fact that these experts are offering their services for free speaks volumes. It's not just trust in Farage's leadership, but a shared belief in Reform UK's vision, a future where policy is crafted by those with real-world expertise, not career politicians. By assembling this powerhouse team, Reform UK is breaking free from the tired rhetoric of Labour and the Conservatives, positioning itself as a solutions first party. For voters fed up with endless bureaucracy and ineffective governance, this shift is a breath of fresh air. The promise of innovative policies tackling key areas like nature's reform, immigration, and technological progress is bound to resonate with a public desperate for real change. And the commitment to dismantling inefficiencies, what Farage calls disarming the blob, aligns perfectly with growing calls for a leaner, smarter government. Here's where it gets interesting. Reform UK's approach starkly contrasts with the traditional parties, which continue to lean on legacy systems and out-of-touch insiders. This focus on meritocracy and evidence-based governance could expose their opponents' weaknesses, making the party a magnet for pragmatic, forward-thinking voters. But let's not pretend the road ahead is easy. Turning a diverse group of professionals into a unified force capable of delivering cohesive policies is no small task. Reform UK will need tight coordination, a clear strategy, and the ability to manage sky-high expectations. And while the promise is compelling, the public's patience is limited. Past political disappointments mean voters won't buy into talk alone. They'll demand visible results fast. This is a bold, transformative play that could redefine the political landscape. If Farage and his team can deliver on their promises, Reform UK might just usher in a new era of governance in Britain. But the stakes couldn't be higher. Success would cement their legacy. Failure would prove that even the best intentions can fall short without effective execution. One thing's for sure, all eyes are on Nigel Farage and his next move. Could this be the revolution British politics has been waiting for? Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with our latest videos and stay ahead of the curve on the issues shaping our world. For even more, join our free Telegram group, link in the description, for uncensored, no-holds-barred discussions on the topics that matter most. Be part of the conversation. Your voice counts.